We're going to start in a slightly wider Tadasana than we would normally use. So the belt is going to go around the shins and we're going to press firmly out to that belt. So if you're using a tie that you're tying up here, then you need to have your feet hip width apart. So you have to possibly stop the video while you get everything into alignment. Now get your toes so that they're pointing directly forwards. I have to move my toes manually to get them into that position. You may find that your toes go automatically in that position if you've got good yoga feet. So press down into the outer edges of your feet, push out to that belt. The belt needs to be quite insistent on your calf muscles. So it's not just there balancing as a decoration, you're using it to push out to as though you're trying to break that belt. Lengthen your tailbone down, lift your breastbone up, push firmly down into the outer foot bones and stretch down with your fingers. So with this action, your legs should feel a little more lively. We're going to interlock the fingers and take the arms up into Parvatasana. So have the right little finger on the outside, make a fist, get the pits of the fingers right to the base, turn the palms, flatten your palms out, go back into your legs again, push down into the outer foot bones, lift your kneecaps, lift your thigh muscles, inhale, extend the arms up. So watch that your ribs don't pop forwards when you take the arms up. If you've got a very flexible lumbar spine, you'll want to push your ribs forwards. So your frontal ribs have to stay back. Move the upper arms towards the ears, flatten the palms of the hands, keep the sides of the neck soft. So don't tense in the sides of the neck, don't hunch your shoulders up. Keep breathing through the nasal passages. When we take the arms up, it's very energetic on the body, so we need the breath for this. And then release the arms down. Eventually this pose comes to help things like handstand, you know, Adho Mukha Virasana. So we need to get these actions, arms straight. So interlock the fingers in the other way. Really get that action of the fingers interlocking. Turn the palms, keep the fingers interlocked, flatten the palms, draw the arms away from the shoulder socket. And on an inhalation, take the arms up. So inhaling through the nostrils again. Try and train yourself to use your nasal breath when you're doing your asana work, your yoga poses. Pushing down again into the outer foot bones, tailbone long, chest lifted up, frontal pelvic bones lifted, kneecaps lifting equally, thigh muscles lifting strongly, upper arms moving towards your ears, but keeping the softness through the neck. And releasing the arms down. Well done. Okay, so it's quite hard. You may find that you've got a little bit of markings on your calf muscles, which is fine because, you know, sometimes we have to work a little bit harder. So we're going to come into Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and back into Adho Mukha Virasana. I'm just going to show. If you can't do Adho Mukha Virasana because of knee problems, have a look at the alternative action on a chair. So we're going to come from here to here and back again to here. All right, so starting out, sitting back on your heels. Now there shouldn't be any discomfort in your knees in this pose. If there is, then you need to make alterations. Either you do the alternative, seated onto a chair, or you put some supports in between your bottom and your heels. So that might be a bolster. If you have something between your bottom and your heels, then you will certainly need to have something under your head. And you may need to have something under your head, whether you have something between your bottom and your heels or not. It's quite a nice way to work. I do work myself like this sometimes, with head onto a brick and a bolster there, just to give a little bit more height. But if you are able to put your bottom back onto your heels and keep it there, then you can work either with your head to the floor or again with the head raised. Sometimes the head needs to be raised in order to keep the buttocks back onto the heels. And this pose should give a nice breadth and opening to the lower back. So the area of the lower back just around the back of the top of the back of the pelvis, the sacral region. Just feel that opening and broadening. Keep the elbows lifted off the floor, keep the wrists lifted off the floor. So we're going to come for Adho Mukha Svanasana, dog head down. Have the middle finger pointed forwards, press down into your knuckles, look at your elbows, have your inner elbows facing one another, tuck your toes under. Now when we start, the shoulders are over the wrists, but when we come up, your shoulders need to be further back. So tuck your toes under, lift your sitting bones towards the ceiling and slope the arms. So now the shoulders are no longer over the tops of the wrists. The thighs are pushing back, heels are lifted, kneecaps lifted evenly, opening out in the backs of the thighs, the backs of the knees. So lift the frontal pelvic bones as though you were going to stand up from this position. Obviously it's impossible to do that, but imagine you were about to stand up from this position. So you've got to lift the frontal pelvic bones and move the abdomen back towards the spine. Let the head and neck completely release. And then come back down into Adho Mukha Virasana. Toes are together, heels are apart, and either you're sitting back onto your heels or back onto your bolster, whatever you're using. Maybe your head's lifted onto a brick, maybe it's flat to the floor. I'm not too worried about that, but you need to get the length and extension in this pose. So we start out with the fingers lifted, the hands lifted, the fingers spidered, and then we flatten the palms but keep the elbows and the wrists away from the mat. Rotate the upper arms from the inside out. So if you're not quite sure what I mean by that, just have a look at the screen for a moment. I'm just showing that's the direction of the muscles in the upper arm. The direction of the muscles in the lower arm is from the outer elbow to the thumb. All right, and slowly coming up out of the action. Okay, so we're going to come now for an Uttanasana action. I'm just going to show how we're going to work. So the first way of working is we're just going to take our fingers to the wall and then flatten the palms. The feet, as you can see, are hip width apart, and you have to work as though you're working out to that belt. The back is flat and you're making a right angle with your body. Actually, we might work with the belt anyhow. If you haven't got a belt, don't worry about this, but it just gives a little more attention to the feet and the outer calf muscles when you do this. It's just a little more tricky to get your distance because you've now got your belt on. All right, so take your hands to the wall, get your distance. first of all spider your fingers and then flatten your palms. Have your ears between your arms and you're making a right angle with your body. So you've got one right angle made by the wall and the floor, and the other right angle is made with your legs and your torso and your arms. Have your feet hip width apart and push into the outer foot bones. Spread your toes, really get that nice opening on the toes. I'm just going to take these bricks out of the way so that they're not obscuring the view. Press the hands into the wall, draw your shoulder blades down. Now remember the action that we've just talked about, that rotational action of the upper arms rolling out. So I'm just going to show that again here, this action. But those of you with hyperextended elbows, I do not want you rolling your inner elbows to face the ceiling. Those of us with hyperextension in the elbows are able to do that, and it's not a good action. So you've got to rotate those upper arm muscles without letting the elbows swivel. Hard to do. Okay, and now coming up. You can take your belt off now. Where you were standing just before will give you a rough idea of where you need to be. But then when we come into this action, you may have to adjust your distance. Okay, so you will just adjust your distance. Now you can see that I'm using 2 bricks here. It might be that 2 bricks are too low. You might need to take your hands onto the seat of a chair, which is perfectly fine. You have to be mindful about this. Okay, so the way we're going to work is we're going to stretch the arms up, come into Adho Uttanasana, take the hands down. You can see that I've not actually moved my back from there to there. Then we're going to draw the toes of the left foot back and take that left foot up the wall with the toes pointing downwards and the pelvis level. So let's do that together. So first of all, get your distance. You don't want to kick your wall. It's very uncomfortable on your foot if you do that. So we don't want you to do that. Roll your shoulders back and down. Inhale, Virabhadrasana. Exhale, Adho Uttanasana, half Uttanasana. Take your hands down onto your bricks or onto the seat of your chair. Now, keep your kneecaps lifting, pressing it down into the outer edges of your feet, lifting your inner ankles, lifting your inner knees, lifting your inner thighs and groins. Draw the toes of the left foot as though you're making a line with a marker pen using your big toe. Take it back. Just don't take it up just yet. Just rest it there on the floor. Now make sure that the back of the pelvis at this stage is level, that you're not lifting your left hip up. Then lift your left leg and place it to the wall. Now we're going to see, can we get that levelness in the pelvis? And the frontal thigh muscle moves to the frontal thigh bone, so that on the lifted leg, you've got to lift that frontal thigh muscle to the bone and lift the bone to the back thigh. Extend the breastbone, breathe through the nostrils and releasing down. So we're going to go to the other side, re-establish the action in your legs, the action in your feet, the spreading of the toes, the lifting of the kneecaps, lengthening of the sternum chest, and then draw the toes of the right foot back. So just take them onto the floor for the moment. Pelvis is level, breadth across the gluteal crease of the back leg, but also on that standing leg. Keep the standing leg outer hip hooked in, don't let that kick out to the side. We've got to keep that compact. And then lift up the right leg, take it to the wall. Keep it strong and active. So again, the frontal thigh muscle has to move to the thigh bone on that lifted leg. The thigh bone on the lifted leg moves to the back thigh. Breathe. Strong poses, these ones. Okay, and releasing down. And now stand in Tadasana, roll the shoulders back and down. I want you to come into a resting Uttanasana now. I'm just going to show you how that's going to work. We're going to take the feet hip width apart. They can go wider if you need to. We're going to interlock the arms and stretch the arms up. Then we're going to come into an Adho Uttanasana and then release down. Okay, so let's do that together. Feet hip width apart or wider, but make sure that the middle toe is pointing directly forwards. Take hold of your arms and fold your arms. If this is a difficult action, you can hold on to the wrists, that's not a problem. Ribs back, abdomen back, inhale. Take the arms up. If there's shoulder problems, then you can just work with your hands onto the seat of the chair, head resting onto a bolster on the seat of a chair. Come halfway, broaden in the back of the pelvis, broaden in your lower back, and then release down. So you keep the legs strongly lifting and the torso relaxes down. Breathe. Fine inhalation, fine exhalation through the nostrils. So keep the legs strong and active, keep the feet very positive in their movement to the outer edges of the feet, toes lengthening, not gripping. Alright, now release your arms, raise your head slowly. Now we're coming out of this slowly, don't be in a rush, very gently lift up out of your Uttanasana. And breathe. Okay, well done. You may be coming into Halasana. Those who are not coming into any inversions at all today will come into Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. Now you won't be coming into any inversions if you've not got any equipment. Then you won't be doing your Svanasana because you need 4 foam pads or plenty of blankets to make a platform. Or if you've got a period or a headache or a migraine at the moment, or problems with your ears or your eyes. Okay, so otherwise you're going to come into this version of Halasana. Okay, so I've got this equipment set up with 4 foam pads and a bolster. You can use any combination of this that you want to. You can use a brick for your launch pad rather than the bolster, or a 5th foam pad. And you can use blankets rather than these foam pads. Now, the distance that you need to be from the wall is approximately, I just need to move this out a little, the outer femur head needs to be about in line with the centre of your platform. So I'm just going to show then how you come into your Halasana. The base of the skull lines up with the front edge of the support. The back of the head is on the floor. We roll the feet to the wall. So if you've got your distance correct, and I'm a little too close here, but it will do. If you've got your distance correct, you will be able to lift up your back ribs with your hands. Okay, so let's do that together. And it may be that, you know, having your support a little closer than is appropriate might be okay, because it's quite unnerving if you don't normally come into Halasana to the floor to not be able to find the wall there when you're looking for it. Okay. So base of the skull in line with the front edge of your support. Make sure that you're even, that your shoulders are on your support correctly. If this is difficult, you can come into your normal Savangasana shoulder balance or your Halasana to the seat of the chair. All right, on an exhalation through the nostrils, you roll and take your feet to the wall. So we want to have the feet and the pelvis in line, and the hands support the back. Turn your toes in, let your knees come together, and just rest your knees against one another in this bent leg position. So keep the legs bent, feet on the floor, just to settle the back down.